Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Alexis, I'm a blind author and content creator, and I am here to review the Celestial Kingdom series. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly who wrote the books, but the book names, it is a duology, and the books are Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior. And I don't have a lot of, I don't recall everything I read from these books. Everything I kind of, my final thoughts will be based mainly on this review and stuff like that. So this is going to be definitely an interesting look because I don't remember, everything I actually read. I'm going to do what I did with the Letters of Enchantment duology. That is, since they were both recorded, even though they were meant to be separate videos, I'm deciding to combine them into one longer video because, well, they were both recorded, so why not? So that is what I am planning to do to that end. Anyway, I'm not going to keep you very long here, except to say that this was actually meant to be posted a lot earlier, but I got sick and I did not end up editing. I got sick for a couple of weeks and ended up editing. Also, unfortunately, my position that I was in for work ended. Well, not really, or my service term, I should say, with AmeriCorps ended, which is what I was pretty much doing. I was doing a service term with AmeriCorps, and it ended. So I am in. So that was the thing. I also was very busy trying to make sure I got everything and gave it my all till the end. So I was a little bit busy for that. Also, I should say there was a bit of a change in schedule because this was also not supposed to be posted next. The video I was supposed to do next was my review of Bridgerton Season 3. However, I unfortunately lost the majority of my footage related to, or at least some of my footage. Enough of my footage that I couldn't actually give you guys a complete review. So I am going to have to rewatch the seasons and re-record that third season, which might be good because I was actually planning to go off timeline anyway, considering the way that Netflix did it. But I might end up actually reading books 3 and 4, maybe not right away, of course, you might see them eventually, but I might end up reading books 3 and 4 and then do because there's a lot of Bridgerton content I've been meaning to do, and that also means looking at the source material, looking at the series, but also re-recording my review for Queen Charlotte, and I have to figure out how to focus on that at some point. So that is kind of the plan. So that is why the schedule has changed and Celestial Kingdom has been moved up. But hopefully I will post Bridgerton content eventually. I have other things currently in my priority, I'm afraid. So that is where we are at right now. Anyway, a couple of housekeeping things before we get into the video. If you enjoy my content, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you're aware of when I release videos. If you would like to check out my writing, you can look at my website or my Substack. You can also support me financially by getting my books. I have a literary fantasy novelette and poetry collection out. You can get them either from your favorite retailer or an ebook and audiobook form, or you can get it except maybe Google Play for ebooks. I believe my audiobook is there, but I cannot quite fully remember. Or you can get it through Ko-fi as I sell them. As I have a Ko-fi shop where I sell the ebooks. You can also make a donation there, or if you are interested in a beta reader for your manuscript, feel free to email me. It is in the description. Anywho, with that out of the way, let's get into the first review of this video, which is for Daughter of the Moon Goddess. So I don't remember where I first heard about this book. I remember hearing about it, but I don't remember where. And then I eventually heard about it somewhere again and decided to look for it because the title sounded interesting. Turns out it was released last year. It was released on January 11th, 2022, which I thought was interesting. But I would have yeah, I would have I would love to remember where I first heard about this book. I can't remember where I heard about it, but it was somewhere on YouTube. I know that much, and now I decided to look into it, and now I've read it. I actually finished it a couple of hours ago as of recording, and here we are. So let's talk about the book. I'm gonna give you my thoughts. This is part of a duology called The Celestial Kingdom, but here's the synopsis. Um, Growing up on the moon, Xing Yin is accustomed to solitude, unaware that she is being hidden from the feared celestial emperor who exiled her mother for stealing his elixir of immortality. But when Xing Yin's magic flares and her existence is discovered, she is forced to flee her home, leaving her mother behind. Alone, powerless, and afraid, she makes her way to the Celestial Kingdom, a land of wonder and secrets. Disguising her identity, she seizes an opportunity to learn alongside the Emperor's son, uh, mastering archery and magic, even as passion flames between her and the prince. To save her mother, Xing Yin embarks on a perilous quest, confronting legendary creatures and vicious enemies across the earth and skies. But when treachery looms and forbidden magic threatens the kingdom, she must challenge the ruthless celestial emperor for her dream, striking a dangerous bargain to in which she in which she is torn between losing all she loves or plunging the realm into chaos. A captivating debut fantasy inspired by the legend of Chang'e, the Chinese moon goddess, in which a young woman's quest to free her mother uh, pits her against the most powerful immortal in the realm. Daughter of the Moon Goddess begins an enchanting romantic duology which weaves ancient Chinese mythology into a sweeping adventure of immortals and magic where love vies with honor, dreams are fraught with betrayal, and hope emerges triumphant. So, I will say I did enjoy this book. I want to say that I will enjoy this book. I did enjoy this book. I do have some critiques, but I did enjoy this book, and I will read the sequel. I think the sequel is I have already have it in my library, so I have borrowed it and everything. So I will be reading that sequel soon, and you'll probably have it. That'll probably be the next review. I do not know. Maybe it will all depend on what on where I how I edit my stuff. But point is, um they yeah, anyway, point is that I did enjoy the book. I do have some critiques, but I did enjoy it. So let's begin with prose. So the prose is good. It is very poetic, and it's very easy to read though. So there is that balance. I will say this reminds me of the writing style of Natasha Nyung. She wrote the author of um, Girls of Paper and Fire, of that entire trilogy. So it reminds me of that. It's very lyrical and it's very beautiful. I liked it. And of course, there was that, like, there's that balance between just, it was easy to read, and there was no, I read it really quickly. So yeah. So it wasn't too much. It wasn't too, it wasn't too difficult, I think, for me on my end. So it worked out really well, basically. That's the best I can say. It worked out great. So it did do well for me on that. So I enjoyed it. The um the the story is told in first person past, and mainly in Xingyan's point of view, which worked out pretty well. There was a lot of urgency on every chapter, and I will say I would have loved to see Li Wei's point of view, Li Wei being the prince. I would have loved to see his point of view. I think that he has a I think that would have been really interesting, because there is hinting to some backstory with him, but it hasn't like been revealed. I'm hoping that that in the second book it is revealed, since this is a duology. So I'm hoping that in like this last book it does get revealed. But I don't know. But I would have liked to see more of his point of view, and I would have really liked to see the his relationship between his parents through his eyes, because we gathered that it's not great, and that things seem to be going on. So I would have loved to see that, or to see more of that. I think it would have helped color his character and in many ways. So the issue, I think I'm gonna caveat first person to saying that first person is very limited. It is a very limited point of view, and it specifically focuses on your main character, whoever that may be. And because of that, it is limited to that. So any quote unquote character arcs are a bit more limited. We mainly get to see their character arc, but the everyone else's character arc, unless you're spending a lot of time with that character, and they're forced to spend time together for whatever reason, we don't get to see that. And I hate that. So that's like the only thing I don't like. I love first person. Like, don't get me wrong, I actually love it, but that's like one of the few things I don't like about that point of view, that it is so it's very hard to I think it's very hard to actually do other character arcs well, that aren't just your main character. So that's kind of where my stuff comes in. That's like my main caveat. So let's talk about for a second world building. So for world building, this book I think needed more world building. Like, you get that there seems to be some issues, and that there seems to be more of a there seems to be a lot going on between these this kingdom and maybe even others, and so on. Like, there seems to be a lot going on, but there is so little world building that by the time the events culminate at the end, the twist doesn't feel very gratifying. So I don't it just feels kind of like, oh, okay, I guess I should have seen it coming, but also there's no like the things that should have led me to it, like the crumbs that should have led me to it, weren't there, and it feels like there needed to be more, especially in character development and other stuff like that. Now, I don't mind the fact that things were some stuff was told to us. I don't mind that kind of stuff. I'm okay with this. It's just that because of that, there were other things that were that had issues. But like, yeah, no, the world wasn't built very well. It feels very much like there should have been more built into this world. Hopefully the second book will do that, but this book didn't do enough world building for me to understand the world as much. We know that there is the amortal world, and then there's an immortal world, and there seems to have been some separation. And it looks like the mortals do see the celestials as some kind of almost like gods of sorts. At least the moon goddess is revered to some degree, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So that's something I would have liked to, I think, see more of. I would have liked to see more world building generally. So that's my thing. I really appreciated the slow burn pace of the story. It worked out really well. I think all the events were built up to semi okay, not great, but it was okay. It read very much myth like, which I really like, because since it was inspired by mythology, I kind of found it really interesting that it read like a myth. I appreciated that, so I did enjoy that. There my I think my thing is that because there were things that we didn't get to see develop as well either, like the romance that comes up. I don't feel the romance. I felt nothing for the romance. I think it needed to be more developed, and there were a lot of time skips, and the pacing. There were a few time skips, not a lot. There were a few time skips, and so we didn't get to see it. It just was like, yeah, I love you, and I was like, oh, he loves her, huh? So so I thought that was kind of interesting, and things kind of got really like there were issues between them, and that got just resolved really quickly. I feel at the end, not like super quickly, but like somewhat quickly, and it just, I don't know. I didn't feel the romance there, because it was just like not developed very well. I did feel the romance a little bit more. There was more time dedicated to Xingyin and the, I think, Wenshaw, the captain. I forgot the full name. Yangshaw or Wenshaw? I don't remember his name. But yeah, this captain was developed a lot better. We have a really good reason. Like we feel that she cares for him, and that they have a great and that they have a really great like romantic chemistry, and I liked that a lot. But I don't see it as much with Xingyin and Li Wei. I think the pacing just didn't allow that for us. I can see their friendship chemistry, but not the romantic one. There are definitely themes of family and friendship, but mainly family, because the entire story is basically a quest for her to be reunited with her mother, and it is very beautiful, especially by the end. So there's a lot of good themes of family and the things that family would do for each other, and that is something I really liked, especially like the small flashbacks with like the mom and everything. So characters, I think Xingyin makes a really great lead. I liked her a lot. The others, they're fine. They're okay. I appreciated there was more love between women than hate, because uh, Mei Ling and her attendants in the beginning were, I felt like they were just kind of added in for the most plot convenient reason to get her to the palace, and Mei Ling was just bitchy, and we never knew why, as was her like head attendant, aka her favorite attendant. They were just like very bitchy, and we just, I assume, and like it made less sense to me, because I understand why Mei Ling would be kind of bitchy, because she may have been spoiled, but the attendants, I don't get it. I don't know. They could have all been fine. So it felt like they were just added to be bitchy mean girls, and make it convenient for her to go. Um, I don't know. I just didn't like this as much. However, the other people she meets are a bit more friendly, and there was even a point where she didn't like the princess that Li Wei was like engaged to, but also like she was kind of like, I shouldn't have done that. Like she kind of realized that she did wrong in certain areas. And it was good. It was fine on that end. I think there could have been more to develop Xingyin and the other characters as well, but I think it was done well enough on Xingyin's end. So those are kind of my thoughts. Have you overall, it was a good story. I think it needed more character development, more romance development, more um it needed a lot more than I think than what it had. I'm hoping that the second book does more for that. Can I just say, I liked the dragons. The dragons were awesome. They were fun. So I kind of liked it. It was really fun. It was a really fun story overall. I really liked it. I give it 3 stars. Have you read Daughter of the Moon Goddess? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Would you plan to read it? I think you would like it if you really like the kind of writing style of Natasha Young as well as V.E. Schwab, because it's very poetic, very pretty. So if you like that kind of writing, I think you might like this story, and it's balanced, so it doesn't feel like it's just really pretty prose. So I think you would like this if you like those stories. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. So I hope you enjoyed that first review and I gave you a good overview of my thoughts. Also, I somehow forgot that this was recorded in 2023. A lot of my reviews that I am currently posting were definitely recorded between 2023 and 2024 because I kind of burned out a little and stopped recording, stopped editing, stopped touching things. So I believe I told you this at some point in other videos, but I'm mentioning it now just in case. So that would be why. And stuff like that. So that is there. The reviews I did a couple of years ago for Girls of Paper and Fire, that trilogy will be linked below. I do have a playlist for it, so I'll link it below. And the other thing I did want to say related to this is that you may also like this if you enjoy the writing style of S.T. Gibson, who wrote A Dowry of Blood. And I will link that as well so that you kind of get an idea, because their writing is also, I'm not sure if they go by she her, so their writing is also as kind of as poetic, and it was just as interesting to read. It has all of them have this like lyrical quality, so you might also enjoy this series on a prose level if you enjoy their all of their writing. Anywho, at least I'm basing it, that last one, based on A Dowry of Blood only. So, yeah. Anyway, so the next part of this video will be discussing Heart of the Sun Warrior. And if I remember, I have not watched this yet, but as of recording this like middle part, but I believe there are spoilers on this next review. So yeah, keep that in mind if you want to actually read the sequel. Anywho, I am going to let Past Me talk to you about this, and I will come in with closing thoughts. Okay, you guys, I'm here for the sequel for the Celestial Kingdom duology, and I'm not happy, as you can tell by the title. It was not satisfying for me. I don't know, it just didn't quite work out for me. So I'm gonna read the synopsis, and then we're gonna talk about it. After her perilous quest to free her mother, Xinyan thrives once more in the tranquility of her home, but her fragile peace is threatened by the discovery of a strange magic on the moon and the unsettling changes in the Celestial Kingdom as the Emperor tightens his grip on power. While Xingyan is determined to keep clear of the rising danger, the discovery of a shocking truth spurs her into a treacherous confrontation. Forced to free her home once more, Xingyan and her companions venture to unexplored lands of the immortal realm, encountering legendary creatures and shrewd monarchs, beloved friends and bitter adversaries. With alliances shifting quicker than the tides, Xingyan has to overcome past grudges and enmities to forge a new path forward, seeking aid where she never imagined she would, as an unspeakable terror sweeps across the realm. Xingyan must uncover the truth of her heart and claw her way through devastation to rise against this evil before it destroys everything she holds dear and the worlds she has grown to love, even if doing so demands the greatest price of all. Uh, the stunning sequel to Daughter of the Moon Goddess delves deeper into beloved Chinese mythology, concluding the epic story of Xingyin, the daughter of Chang'e, and the mortal archer Hu Yi, as she battles a grave new threat to the realm in this powerful tale of love, sacrifice, and hope. Okay, so I think I won't delve too deep into the review of the things I mentioned in the first video. If you kind of want to know how I feel about Daughter of the Moon Goddess, you can absolutely find it. I will link it in the description. And part of like what I felt was still kind of goes the same here. Like there was not a lot of world building even here. There were things that I think could have been better generally. There's also I think things kind of work out a little too easily in this story as well. So let's talk about my thoughts. So the story kind of just follows Xingyin as she is like really happy at home, and she and Li Wei are kind of having like they've renewed a bit of their relationship, including to a point where Li Wei even proposes, which great, I guess. Like he proposes and everything, and she doesn't know whether to accept because family, and like they have a bit of a complicated stuff with family. And I mentioned before that his romance with her makes no sense, which I guess makes because you don't feel the chemistry, yet she somehow for some reason also seems to love him. And by the first book, it appeared, because they were together, by the first book, it definitely appeared that they would be endgame, but that is not true. I'm kind of glad to say it's not true, that instead of him, it is Wensha. And I am happy about that because I think Wensha and her have a lot more chemistry, and that to me is wonderful. However, I will still make the argument that if you are building a love triangle, in my opinion, there should be chemistry between the love interest and between both love interests. So there should be chemistry between the person in the middle, like the person who's basically being fought for. They should have chemistry between with both love interests. A great way that this was done, a great example of a really good love triangle is in Fruits Basket. I will forever say it is wonderful. When you see Toru and with either Kyo or Yuki, you can feel the chemistry between them. It gets resolved in a really cute way, I think, in season 2, in the reboot specifically, not the original. But while it gets resolved, there is something I want to say. They both have chemistry, and no matter with whom she would have ended up, it would have been great because she still had chemistry with both, and it all started they were not even fighting for her, and she didn't. I don't think she didn't even realize that they felt that way for her from my memory. And what's interesting is that if she would have ended up with, you kind of know who she would have ended up with because of something she says. But if she would have ended up with Yuki rather than Kyo, it would have made such good sense too. And the way it was resolved in season 2 was because Yuki realizes he doesn't feel that way about her, but Kyo loves her, and it's great. And then at some point, though, someone else also falls for her, and it's adorable. But either way, even if I were to have shipped, the endgame love interests, I would have been happy if instead of her and Kyo, it was her and Yuki, because their chemistry was also really good. Now, I'm happy with this one because her and Wensha had great chemistry in the first book. I'm just not. I don't know. I didn't love the way it ended in certain areas. I half like and half don't, and we'll go there in a minute. So yeah, she's like home. Her and Lee were having a thing. He proposed. Wensha has been trying to apologize, and she's bitter and annoyed because of course he betrayed her, and it makes perfect sense that she'll be like, fuck you, dude, you betrayed me. Why should I forgive you? And it makes sense. And even like her mom is kind of like, you have a lot to answer for in your treatment of my daughter. You know what? I appreciate it. I will say, I do want to say, one of the things I didn't mention in the review is I understand it in the first book actually a little bit more, but at least in the second book, I do not love how Changa has to be saved all the time. I feel like everything seems to be put on Xingyin all the time, and her mom, while she wants to help, is easily persuaded, and needs to be saved all the time. I don't know. I just don't love it. So eventually, though, they discover this laurel on the moon that is a bit strange. Like it helps. It has done things, and now a minister Wu, who makes an appearance in the first book, or a bunch of appearances in the first book, wants it, and eventually he takes power. Originally, it was because the catalyst for this began because one night Changa did not light the lanterns, and it was in the emperor's celebration, and he was upset in that about that, and took it as an insult. And the deal at the end of the book was that Changa would be free to move where she wanted, but that if she makes if she does anything wrong, it would be Xingyin would be punished. And she kind of agreed, and so that was the case. And she was like at the ball, and the moon wasn't the lanterns weren't lit for the moon and everything. So he took it as an insult, and then they were like both kind of like imprisoned in that stuff. But now you find out, and this is part of what I hate, is that what you find out is that the reason she did not end up that Changa didn't end up lighting the lanterns is because she received a note that basically said what you're looking for is in the mortal realm, and it was about her dad. And what you find out is like she went to see if Hoi really was alive, and she couldn't find him, and like Xingyin was like, okay, I will look for him or whatever. And what she ends up finding eventually is that Hoi is alive. He never really died. And what ended up happening is that, like, I guess I can't remember every part of this. It was a bit complicated for me to kind of grasp. But in essence, I do remember. In essence, what happened was that something with, like, the king basically kind of took everything and just made him, I guess, not, like, somehow managed for Mizu to fake his death or something. I'm not too sure about this, but it was something related to the emperor. I'm sorry, not the king, the emperor. I can't fully remember this part. It was kind of like, it kind of flew over me, if truth be told. I remember everything else, but this part just flew over me a bit. It just, I don't know. It felt too convoluted for me. This part just felt too convoluted, so I was kind of like, okay. So yeah, that's kind of where that happens. So that happens, and she's like, and you find out that he's sick, and now Xingyin wants to get her parents together, because of course she does, on that end, and she wants to do this stuff, but he knows that Changa has been looking, like going to his grave and stuff, and he was mad at her at first, and then he realized like what happened, and like why she took the elixir of immortality and everything. So so that was great in that end. But so she kind of just goes, and she looks around to the Keeper of Mortal Fates and asks about like how to get like the elixir, and I think he doesn't really give her information, but then you find out that this person wants the elixir for some reason for her husband, and I forgot what it was for. I think like their time was running out, and she's an immortal. And what you find out later is that she is Li Wei's sister, and that she married a mortal and just like lost power, and she and the Empress for some reason just didn't get along or something. I don't fully remember this part. See, I don't know. This just felt very complicated for me. It felt too convoluted. I would have been fine with just like Daughter of the Moon Goddess and it was just done. This just feels more convoluted than it should be. So they end up going there. You find out that Minister Wu is at some point you end up like there's an escape and they were almost caught and they end up trying to get alliances. So they go to I forgot which sea this is, but the queen is not fully like allied to the celestial kingdom. She's kind of she's friendly to the cloud kingdom as well, which is where Wensha is from and is now the crown prince of, later becoming king. And then but then you find out that because they didn't fully tell her everything, she ends up trying to give them to the Minister Wu, who now took power and is now emperor. And in between this escape, like beforehand, there was a heist where there was like they tried to break into the palace to get the elixir of immortality, but there was only one. The person thought there was two, but he took it anyway, and eventually they find out that the person did think it was two elixirs but found one and ended up giving it to her eventually because she risked her life. He gives it to her dad, and then they all work out. There's like a big reunion. She even gives him back the jade dragon bow, I think is what it's called, which was with her but is now with him. The dragons make another appearance. The only thing that affected me in this book is that when they were trying to leave this kingdom that they're in, because when they were gone, Pinga, her her caretaker, ended up she ended up dying in the process, and they went to this place. I think it's called the East. I think it's the Eastern Sea. I think it's the Eastern Sea or the Southern Sea. It may have been the Southern Sea. Yeah, the Southern Sea. And she and they went to get her to like bury her with her family and everything. And so they went to see that. The other thing that affected me is that there was a kid, a 10-year-old prince, who ended up dying in the process of them escaping that place because the new emperor basically found them and everything. And now what they so that was like the only thing that affected me. And at that point, Li Wei, I think, was already out of the palace. If not, no, I don't think he was. I don't remember. But at some point, Li Wei has to return to the palace in order to, because his dad called for him before this whole thing, and this was like sometime after he proposed to her, and he stopped supporting his dad, like especially the imprisonment of Chang'e and everything, and they have to get him out, and she has to seek help from the Empress, and they make a vow that she won't accept Li Wei's proposal or anything. And stuff like that, and she agrees as long as she or her family don't get attacked without just cause, which the Empress ends up breaking later, like that vow. And then they go trying to get now the next thing is just trying to get get Wu out of the out of power and stop him from using that laurel. So that's kind of what happens. And throughout the story, we have them doing this stuff. We end up seeing Lady Siha, I think is how you pronounce her name. And basically, she is the mother of the sunbirds that He killed, who was tricked by the Celestials and everything, and she ends up going to try to get like the last feather, and you can see that she's really a grieving mom, and it's so sad. And she ends up having to like fight her champion and stuff, and she wins, and stuff like that. And then the daughter ends up giving her the feather, and she's like, I won't kill you, just go. I have like one daughter left. And it is because like there was like, harm caused in the end. So they get that feather. She ends up trying to get help from like the Cloud Kingdom, but the king wants her to marry Wensha. And throughout the story, there has been a bit of a back and forth between her, Liwei, and Wensha. Again, this love triangle that just is stupid and makes no sense. And they have this kind of back and forth where it's like Liwei is trying to get her to return to him, and she's like, we can forget it, you're confused because he's manipulative and deceptive or whatever. And she's like, no, like she's not going back to him or whatever. And she's also not fully saying yes to Wensha either, who's really working to get her forgiveness. And she's like, I can't do that, right? And then, but the king wants them married. And her and Wensha, basically, she doesn't want to do that, but Wensha kind of has a plan. And they sort of like fake a marriage. And stuff like that. They basically fake a marriage and stuff like that. And and what's interesting about it is that the wedding, basically everything kind of goes awry because the crown prince, and because the reason they want the help is because of an enchantment that they need to perform in order to destroy the laurel and get her to look like her mom and everything. And a lot of stuff is happening here. Honestly, it's difficult to keep track of because all of this feels really convoluted and everything just works out so well somehow. And basically they do this, but it all kind of goes awry because the king the original crown prince, Wensha's brother, ends up killing his dad, accepting an offer from Wu, and eventually, though, the dad ends up in his last moments gives Wensha like the enchantment and everything he kept. Wensha annuls the marriage. He is king. His mother was raised to a position of dowager queen. Turns out mainly the biggest reason Wensha was pushing to be heir and be king is to secure his mother's position, which I thought was interesting. But in the end, they do the stuff for the laurel. Like he thinks he's captured Chang'e, and she ends up destroying the laurel to his dismay. And I think Wu dies, But in the process, she had attempted to cut the enchantment or something. And she almost died, but also in a death blow that was meant for her. He takes it and dies, but the laurel only has enough power to save her, and she does. And eventually she goes back to court, and Liwei ends up taking, he was a crown, but also ends up taking over and everything. And she realizes that she can't be with him at the end. She loves, because when he was dying that she kind of realized, no, I love you, I forgive you, which is really annoying to me. It's when you die, it's that was the most dramatic forgiveness ever for me right now. It's YA, I get it. It's actually, no, that's wrong. YA doesn't do this. YA, it's not because it's YA, it's just that I misspoke there. It's not that it's YA and I get it. It's just it's a high stakes scene. I get it. How about that? That's better. It's a high stakes scene and I get it. But basically the thing that I find interesting, I guess, about it is just it has to be that scene. It always has to be that scene. It's not that he hasn't won that forgiveness always and tried to earn it. And then after Liwei kind of just takes power, she ends up being there for some time in the palace, and the friends separate. and everything. And she's like, yeah, no, I would not be happy here. And like, especially she's like, I would not be happy here anyway. So she goes back, and eventually she, like, years pass, and like, there are a couple of chapters. She's like, you know, the grief is less now, but she still loves Wensha. And she can apparently sense his spirit, like, at the border every time she goes to like the Cloud Kingdom. And then at some point she stops feeling it, and she's like, what the hell happened? So she goes ask about it at court, and she gets the answer. And it's basically, and this is where I find myself going, why? But basically what ends up happening is that he was reincarnated as a mortal. Basically, Liwei was working on something, but his spirit wasn't very strong enough to do this in the beginning, but eventually it gained strength. And they say it's probably because of the laurel, like the last hour of the laurel. But basically what ended up happening was that he ended up being, eventually he reached a state where he was strong enough, and Liwei allowed him to reincarnate in the body of a mortal, and he'll eventually get immortal soon. Now, we need to go back to the fact that the elixir thing. So what ended up happening is that the sister needed the elixir, and it would be like years since she got it, but instead she got like this peach or something that would extend their time together until the elixir was ready. But now Xingyin wants to ask for the elixir, in which he's like, yeah, granted, because you served the kingdom. And she's like, I would like to, like, one for me and one for this person. And she's like, I can wait my time, it's fine. Like, it would take longer, but she's like, I can wait my time, it's okay. So what she does is she ends up going to the mortal realm and ends up meeting Wensha again as a mortal. And he asked her out, and she said, of course. And she's like, I'm not going to lose this opportunity now. And she's like, I'll tell him all about it later. And basically the whole point of him being reincarnated as a mortal is that eventually he can be made immortal, and he'll have all the memories and everything. So that's basically that's like the best way I can summarize the story. Now, why don't I like this? Well, one, like in the first book, everything works out very easily for Xingyin. Like, I know that she does some work, but sometimes it feels like she doesn't have a lot of work. Like, I'm here for an intelligent character. Like, I think that more plots should utilize an intelligent character, but there need to be more foils, I think, and more things go wrong in the plot for that to, I think, work. And things tend to get tied up in both Daughter of the Moon Goddess and in Heart of a Sun Warrior. Both things, like plot lines, they get tied up really easily. They get easily resolved, and it's not satisfying. But also, I don't like this ending either as much. Like, I'm struggling to as I'm talking to figure out the things I don't like. There are things I like about this ending. One, I like that Xingyin and Wensha are endgame instead of her and Liwei, because what Liwei eventually realizes, like, yeah, I realize you love him, and that's why I did this for you, because he still loves her and stuff. And she's like, okay. So that's the thing. And two, I like though that she and Wensha are endgame, and that she I kind of like that she realized it, and it took some time, and I like that it went with them. But what I don't like is that things worked out really easily. I think Hoyi should have been dead, because it just feels really convoluted the way he came back, and everything just worked out. Like, her parents are together again. I mean, after years, which I get it. Like, after many years, it makes sense that maybe, you know, it's adorable. But, like, it's like her parents are together again, and she gets her love interest. I don't know. I don't like this so much, because I think that everything just worked out too easily. And stuff like that. Like, I'm all for a character getting a happy ending after a lot of struggle. But because of the way that things were always easily tied up, it doesn't feel like she struggled. That's the crux of my personal problem with this ending. Also, I think it would have been really interesting if it would have just been a tragic ending, at least for her. And it's like she learns to appreciate love, and she finds someone else in the couple of years, or if Kui was actually dead and it was all a trap or something. I don't know. It was too convoluted the way he came back and everyone just being super happy, and I just don't like it. I feel like it just all worked out too easily. So that's my problem with this ending. That's it. Let me know. Did you enjoy the Celestial Kingdom duology? I enjoyed reading it. I just don't like this ending. Everyone's too happy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I would love to discuss this with you. Okay, important things. One, sorry if it sounds like about the quality of that last recording, I guess. I think I had the fan on. I must have recorded this around summer, both of these reviews, and I don't remember, so I probably had the fan on. Sorry about that. I did not remember that when I was recording that mid-section. So, a couple of things. I do have some final thoughts on this, and I do want to make a case here very quickly. I want to make sure that it is noted that while this is the ending that I mentioned is the one I think that should have happened based on everything that is occurring, I understand that that is likely not the author's intention, and that is okay. I think that I don't want to fall, I'm sure I've fallen into this trap before, but I want to try to be mindful about this. I want to make sure that when I review my books, I am not under any circumstances attempting to, suggest something that wasn't like in the book. It's just the way that things worked out. I guess I didn't quite enjoy the way things worked out so easily. It felt kind of like, based on my description, it felt sort of like watching I get kind of like an anime where there are supposedly stakes, but then the stakes don't like actually come up, and they're just resolved like because she is the protagonist. If anything, it felt more like our protagonist had too much plot armor, and so it didn't feel, so the ending didn't feel earned. That is probably what I should have said, that the ending just doesn't, based on everything I said, doesn't feel earned. It feels very much like the protagonist had a lot of plot armor. So, and this is the ending that she gets for all the trials that she quote unquote went through. Kind of like, if we're looking at this in the context of a myth, right? In a myth or fairy tale, you go through, like the main characters go through a lot of struggles from time to time. They go on a quest, maybe they have to do all these trials in order to get something. And in that context, it's written very much like it. So one way to read this book is to be able to suspend your disbelief and actually kind of accept that this is how it is, because it is written in it, or it's written in a myth-like fashion. And in that way, I actually can read it and I can enjoy it. But because this just didn't, even though it was written in a myth-like fashion, it didn't feel that way as I was reading it. It felt like it was trying to target more themes, and it felt like we were meant to, like the character was meant to go through all these things, but also face very few actual consequences for the things that she did. Or not for the things that she did, but like for everything that has occurred. So everything felt like there were stakes, but also the stakes were resolved with very little, fanfare. And that's okay. It's just that for me, reading that book, it just didn't quite work out. And the reason I kind of wanted to mention that is because I just, as of recording this outro in December of 2025, I finished reading another book, a really great book that I really love, and I'll review soon. Hopefully, I'll record the review soon. I hope that you get to see this before the end of the year, but I'm not sure. Essentially, I read this book, which is the third book in the Kiss Quotient series, and the way that the reviews came in related to that book just felt very much like it should have been this, a memoir, because the author said it's half a memoir or something in the note, and people were like pushing that's what it should have been, and they would have preferred reading the memoir over over the over what it was, and saying things that it wasn't a romance, so on and so forth. And I'm trying not to fall into that, but I realize that I probably will, and probably have, and I would like to acknowledge that. I think that, again, it just didn't work out for me. I think that based on the description, based on the blurbs, and based on the story, it felt like there should have been a little bit more, and it felt like there should have been some more stakes, some more of everything, and it just didn't have it. So I feel like the promise of the premise was broken in a way. Like it just didn't occur the way that the premise kind of promised me, and I just didn't, and I didn't quite and I didn't find that it was very good. I just didn't think that the ending for everything just didn't quite work out the way I probably would have, I think would have thought it did, and so on and so forth. That's I think my main issue with this book. I think that had I like reading it, if I were to have read it kind of like a classic fairy tale or a myth, and I would have been able to suspend my disbelief, I probably would have enjoyed it way more, because I read fairy tales all the time. I actually am currently in the middle of a collection that I want to finish at some point, but I enjoy reading fairy tales. Like this year, I read a bunch of Beauty and the Beast fairy tales, and some bridegroom tales, an entire collection of Cinderella tales, Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. So I enjoy these, and I understand how they're written. I also took a course on it, and I know that it requires a lot of suspension of disbelief if you're reading a classic fairy tale, because of how easily things get resolved, but also the amount of the way that it generally goes. And that's okay. I'm not like I'm not pushing down on it a lot. It just seemed like there was supposed to be more, and the stakes were supposed to be taken seriously, I felt. And I just didn't feel that when I was reading it. It kind of like fell for me a little bit. The execution just didn't fell flat for me, but that's it. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this review. Isn't it great that you don't have to look in the description, because I decided to link everything together? I have to yeah, it's a very interesting when I look at these videos, and I'm trying to make sure I get everything out a good way, but at the end I am linking videos that I recorded separately together. So yeah. Anywho, next time I post videos, hopefully it will be, I'm trying to really get into a consistent schedule again, but hopefully it'll be soon. But next time I post a video, it will be to review Stone Heart, a prequel novella to the Dark Olympus series. We're going on that journey. I'm actually very excited for you to see that. So I look forward to your doing that, and we're gonna do that for the next, let's see, for the next couple of weeks actually. So we're gonna do that for like the next couple of weeks, or the next couple of videos. I would say the next 7 to 8 videos are going to be Dark Olympus related. So I hope you enjoy that. And, well, I'll see you soon. But before that, again, some notes on this. If you enjoy my content, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you're aware when I post videos. If you would like to check out my writing, you can check out my website or Substack, so that you can like see some of my short stories and flash fiction and poetry. You can also support me by getting my books either on Ko-fi or your favorite retailer in ebook and audiobook. I sell the ebooks at a Ko-fi in my Ko-fi shop, so you can get it there. You can also make a donation if you like from there. You can support me with a tip. You can also email me if you're looking for a beta reader, for someone to critique your unpublished manuscript. You can email me. It's all in the description. Thank you so much. And with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying your day, and I hope I kept you company while you're doing whatever it is you're doing. And I will see you next time. Until then, consume stories. Bye.